This is a Defocus Media production. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in. This is our first show of 2021. So it's a real honor to have our guest here with us today. And the topic for today, we're actually going to be discussing, I think, what's on everybody's mind. Because yes, patient care is going on. Yes, there's new medications coming out, and there's new great science that's expecting how we practice. But I think what we all really care about is, when's my vaccine coming? When can I get it? What can I expect? When can life just start to be a little bit more normal? So personally, I have not had access to the vaccine yet, but I brought on two guests that have had experience with it so that they can share a little bit of the process and what it's been like for them. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Megan Dalzell and Dr. Jade Coates. I want to let you guys share a little bit about yourself. So Megan, why don't you go first? Can you tell us where you practice and a little bit about your background in optometry?
Sure. I'm Dr. Megan Dalzell. I'm originally from Cary, North Carolina. I went to UNC Wilmington for undergrad, and then I went to PCO or Salus for optometry school, and now I practice back in Wilmington.
And then Dr. Coates, what about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jade Coates. I practice for McDonald Eye Associates in Northwest Arkansas. I originally started my optometry school career with Southern College of Optometry in Memphis, and quickly found myself back in Northwest Arkansas, which is where I went to undergrad. So thankful to be back.
So we got the South covered on this show, but as Daryl and I usually, with our PCO and SCO connections, we just love being able to talk to people, that have that background and shared experience with us. But I've had the pleasure, Jade, of working with you when I was in Arkansas for a meeting a couple of years ago. And then Megan was sharing with me before she actually had the opportunity to shadow with Dr. Glover early on in her career. So it's been a pleasure to get to know you guys in the years leading up to this crazy time as well.
I know.
I want to start a little bit about, because both of you guys have gotten the vaccine. So kind of first off, how did you even know that you had access to it, that you could get one? Whoever wants to go first.
Okay. I kind of heard about it, honestly, through the grapevine at first. I had heard after work that two of my friends and colleagues in my county had gotten it. So I reached out to them and they said, you just go to the health department and say that you're an optometrist and, just say that, confirm that you live in the county, and they give you the vaccine. And I didn't really believe them at first, but they said they got the CDC card and everything, and it was Moderna. And then the very next day, early morning, our local society reached out to us via email with the official go-ahead that they had vaccines for us, and we could just go to the county health department and get them. And I really have to credit my local society, the Optometric Society, for making a lot of emails and calls to get us on that list. Hospitals have had a really good plan for their employees, but when you're outpatient, it's kind of been more, for dentists or primary care optometrists, you kind of have to reach out like that. And the North Carolina Optometric Society has a special place in my heart because I used to be president for our school, the student chapter. And so I knew how important the society was, but certainly didn't realize it would be important for, vaccines in a global pandemic. But yeah, they got us in there. So we've been really lucky.
Jade, was it similar for you?
Similar thing for us. Our Arkansas Optometric Association was very helpful in informing us as to kind of the timeline of when to expect it, things to look for, things that we need to maybe be calling around and asking to our local pharmacies and hospitals. But I actually found out from my ophthalmologist. My ophthalmologist, I work with two of them, and they both received their vaccines about 2 weeks before we did. And it was really helpful for us to see them go through that whole process and to see that it was quite easy. To make things more interesting, one of the ophthalmologists I work for actually went to pharmacy school before he went to medical school, and he is married to another pharmacist. And so it was really helpful, I feel, for our organization to see them, who we definitely respect and admire their medical and professional opinions, especially on a vaccine. It was really nice to see and encouraging to see them do that first. So that's how we found out, was they had it about 2 weeks before we did.
So I think what's so confusing about this whole process is it's not even just state by state. It is county by county within the state. Who's eligible, who has access, how many vaccines are available right now. And I think that's put the state societies in a very difficult position to contact their members, because in some counties you can get it right now, and other counties you can't. And so trying to keep all that organized. I know for North Carolina with us, Megan, Wake County optometrists not eligible right now, but in New Hanover County, where you are, they were. What is it that way in Arkansas as well, Dr. Coates?
From what I understand, it's just kind of all optometrists are equally good to go. But it's kind of up to them to maybe call on the local pharmacies and to be proactive in going ahead and getting it. We know the hours that they're open, but from what I know, that pretty much every optometrist has access to it in mostly all counties. I haven't heard of anyone having problems with that.
So interesting, right? And same thing here. So in Arkansas, you're going to like a CVS and Walgreens and able to get the vaccine there.
Yes, you very easily, even local pharmacies, you're encouraged to go to the local pharmacies in Northwest Arkansas, but also some of the Walgreens, CVS, and bigger chain pharmacies have been offering it. I personally did not go to any of those options. I went to the hospital to get it done.
Okay.
And so that's where we chose, mostly for convenience because it was right up the road, and also because they had offered after-hour clinic. So that was really convenient as well.
And so for us in North Carolina, it doesn't seem like it's available with any of the major pharmacies, and any optometrists who are getting it are having to go to the health department to get the vaccine done, at least right now. But again, in a couple of weeks, maybe this is all going to be different. But just it's baffling how different state to state this rollout is. All right, how did it go getting, because you went to different places, a hospital, health department. Did you schedule an appointment? Like, what did you do to get your vaccine?
So for us, it was kind of a free-for-all. We just knew that they were open from 5 to 7 p.m. We showed up after work, and there's several hundred medical professionals in line. I got there right at 5 o'clock, and I was probably number 50. It took about 20 minutes. And so it was quicker than expected, but maybe that was because some of my colleagues who haven't seen in over a year for the very first time I saw in the vaccine line. And so it was kind of exciting because we were all there and we were one step closer to all finally being together and actually being able to not, give a little elbow nub.
You miss how long it's been since we all connected. Just we're used to seeing each other at CE locally, and for a year that hasn't been the case. So we're on a little island out there now.
It's true. So it was a very fast, enjoyable 20 minutes, and everyone was very happy.
Megan, what was it like for you?
Yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind. It went from not knowing that we could even get the vaccine to the next day. Well, I got it on New Year's Eve. So I worked and then went over on my lunch break on New Year's Eve and got it over lunch and went back to work. I stood in line. There was no appointments at that time because my county was still in phase 1A. Now that we've moved to phase 1B, which again, we're going through these vaccines really quick in this county, which is awesome. But I think now you might have to start making appointments because anyone over 70 is now eligible to go as well, which is a lot of people. And the nurse that gave me the vaccine is actually a school nurse. And she had mentioned she was kind of nervous what happens when the kids go back to school because the school nurses aren't going to be available, like who's going to give out these vaccines. So there's, a lot of issues there as well. But I barely felt it when I got it. And it was just super easy. They have you sit there for 15 minutes just to make sure you don't have a reaction. and I went back to work. I was, completely fine. So, but their hours were 9 to 6, and my hours were 9 to 7 that day. So I went during lunch.
Oh, you're a very brave person.
I didn't want to miss my chance.
So you mentioned, Megan, you had gotten the Moderna vaccine. Jade, which was it, Pfizer or Moderna for you?
I got the Pfizer vaccine. It was the only one offered, and currently it's the only one that's available in all of the hospital settings. Generally in my area, the trend seems to be that the smaller clinics and pharmacies are getting the Moderna and the bigger clinics are getting the Pfizer. I've heard that is because of the temperature requirements. I'm not sure about that, but that's just kind of the general trend. So I got the Pfizer.
And then the vaccine process, Megan, you said you got it, you felt fine, you went back to work. Was it same for you, Dr. Coates?
It was so easy. I regularly get my flu shot. I felt it was even easier than that. She didn't even give me a Band-Aid. She was like, nope, you don't even need one. And so she sent me on my way. So it was super easy and nothing unexpected.
And did they also have you wait for like 15 to 30 minutes afterwards, or?
No, they did not. In hindsight, I kind of lingered for maybe 5 minutes, just kind of on my way out and waving at everyone that I saw in the line. But no, they did not necessarily have a designated waiting area, although I did see some people kind of voluntarily waiting.
I'm going to read a few stats off just provided by Dr. Rebecca Wortman with the North Carolina Optometric Society about the risk of anaphylaxis with this vaccine. So apparently rate of anaphylaxis is 11.1 per million doses. So obviously extremely rare. And the average interval from when you get the vaccine to when you have symptoms of anaphylaxis is 13 minutes. So if you feel like you're at any risk of that, maybe hanging around for 20 minutes, 30 on the longest end, you should feel totally safe from there, I would think. And speaking with a few local news practitioners or area providers that I'm friends with, a few of them felt like really tired or like mildly like prodromal flu-like symptoms the next day. Not actually sick, but just like kind of like a little fuzzy feeling. So I guess maybe not a bad idea to prepare with an employer or with your partner or something like that if you do need to take the next day off of work. But what did they advise you about your second round of doses? Because I've heard that one maybe would have more of a reaction where you might need to take a day off the next day.
I have heard that from my friends who have gotten their second dose that they had. So I had arm soreness the day after my first dose. It lasted for a day and then it was fine, but that is something you expect with an intramuscular vaccine. That happens with the flu shot. But the second dose is more, people are anecdotally, reporting that they had fever or chills or something like that for the one day afterwards. So I think the best advice would be to take the day off of work the day after you get the vaccine, or get it on a Friday. You have the weekend to recover, something like that. Personally, I'm probably going to go Thursday at lunch because they told me 20 days later.
Warrior woman over here.
So I'm going to try to do that because it's getting crowded now, and but I'm taking a half day on Friday. So
I was kind of the same. No soreness at all on the first day. On the second day, just a little bit of a sore arm. They really didn't give us any expectations for the second shot, but considering that I've had friends and family members even get the second dose, I also, like you, plan to work. I'm gonna suck it up and go. I've probably felt worse and still went to work. So that's the plan. I would rather just do that on the recommended day. And so that's that. We'll go to work.
The important thing about it is like you may feel a little bit funky, but you're not actually sick. There's no live virus. Your body's just having an immune reaction, but you can't actually be sick, which is good.
Right.
Exactly. Sometimes it's maybe even almost a little encouraging that your body is having an immune response, because then All right.
Those antibodies.
Exactly.
What's happening? So did they tell you a little bit? I think, and I haven't not even gotten my first one yet. I do have, as people are talking more about like, oh, we've got to get this rollout out, and like some politicians, even though the FDA has stated like we don't recommend splitting the doses, are talking about, well, to get more people vaccinated, maybe we just go ahead and keep you as many people with one dose and not doing the second. Do you have any concerns about getting your second dose, or the organization behind that next step? Did you get pre-appointed, or how is that going to work?
As far as I know, you just show up again because you have your card from the first time. So I think if you're going in phase 1B and you haven't gotten your shot yet, they need to either give you a work-in card or you need to make an appointment. And we had just Moderna in this county for a while, but we're just now getting more Pfizer. So they're saying that all the appointments are booked, but they're automatically doing people as the vaccines are coming in. So there will be enough for everybody who already has their card to come and get their second dose. They're kind of keeping that in mind.
And that's kind of the same case for Arkansas. They're keeping that in mind. And although I don't have a specific appointment, I do know that I need to show up on a specific day when they're open to get it done. So not exactly a particular appointment, but just work around my schedule.
I know. So both of you have one dose down, one more to go. And obviously at the one dose stage, there's not really anything that you would be doing differently. But after you get your full dosage with, studies suggesting a 95% efficacy where your risk of contracting the virus is extremely low, do you plan on doing anything differently?
Probably not at first. Just I'm probably going to keep the same mask discipline just because we don't know yet if we're going to be able to carry it, and not get infected. But I think the likelihood of that is probably low, and they'll probably prove that that isn't the case, like as we know more. So until we know that for sure, my mask discipline is probably not going to change. But my peace of mind at work is going to be like, I'm just going to feel so much more comfortable being within inches of someone's face, doing my job, and just seeing all my friends and colleagues getting this vaccine and posting like their little vaccine selfies and stuff. It just really feels like the light at the end of the tunnel.
Jabe, what about you?
Kind of the same thing. I don't plan to change anything at the right now or for the foreseeable future. I think that enough people have to really be on board with this and get the vaccine before we can really, really make a difference. And so I plan to do the same thing I have been doing, but just continue to lead by example and tell other people that this is, a safe thing. And from my experience, this is what needs to be done so that we can all resume our lives mostly as normal. But same, it has and it will continue to increase my confidence in clinic to know that I am not contracting it and or not, sharing it with my patients.
And I think when we first thought about vaccines earlier in 2020, I think many of us were like, oh yes, finally, then no masks and we can go back to normal life. But as we're more into the science, we realize like, oh yeah, no, everything about how you dress for clinic and prepare for clinic and social distancing and mask, even after you get your vaccine, until we get to that herd immunity load of patients, like that's going to be sticking on board. So, but one step closer.
Closer, yes.
Exactly.
We talked about access to the vaccine being probably one of the hurdles. School nurses, you mentioned as an example, like, hey, they're going to be going back into the classroom and going back to work. So who's going to be giving out these vaccines when eventually, the entire population is eligible for them, and just, getting time where you can get your vaccine is going to be a hurdle. The AOA has kind of mentioned there's some support with potential for optometrists, dentists, some of these other medical professions where we are, state by state, of course, but Arkansas and North Carolina being one where we are approved to be able to give injections. Is that something that you can picture doing in your clinic if that was something that legislation-wise came to pass, where we would be vaccinating our patients when they came in for their routine eye exams?
I feel like after 2020, anything's possible. We certainly are qualified to give those vaccines. I never in my career, I always say I just graduated in 2019. It's just been the craziest first year of practice, and I'm doing things in clinic that I was never prepared for, and so if that means, we need to step up and help give out the vaccines, like absolutely, if they set it up for us, then we'll do it. I don't know if it'll come to that or not, but who knows?
Right. Optometrists are capable. It's just a matter if duty calls.
Yes.
So, I'm happy to do it if we need to. I'm in a rural part of Arkansas, but there's also a lot of eye care that's needed. So
I hear you. Flexibility, I think, is the real focus of everything. So who knows what the future is going to hold even in a month or two from now.
2020 plus one, right?
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you guys would like to share about the vaccine with, to any of our listeners, or any concerns that you had prior that you feel like now that you've been through the experience, you have a lot more peace of mind about?
I would say it's just like a flu shot, and I would also say, if you do have access to it, it's still not mandatory for you, and you have to do what's best for you, especially if you have a history of like severe allergies. But I will say that once it goes past the time that you could get the vaccine, more people are going to need it, and it's going to probably get harder for you to get it. So if you're wanting to get it and you get the chance to, like, you absolutely should do it.
Absolutely. I'd encourage everyone, the moment that you find out that you're eligible, to just go ahead and do it. And again, post all about it, because the more people know that this is an okay thing to do, and now that practically almost 100% of our clinic of over 40 people is vaccinated. So it's something that's really nice, and it's the least that we could do to contribute to the decline in COVID-19.
I think one of the great takeaways from talking to both of you guys was you're probably not going to get a phone call or an email or anything telling you like, hey, you can now go get your vaccine. Like, this is something that if this is what you want to do, you should be very vigilant in looking at your state board, getting communication there, and then contacting your local health department saying, I'm an optometrist, I'm seeing patients, am I eligible yet? And you might have to make multiple phone calls. You're going to have to do a lot of the work yourself to get your vaccine. But at the end of the day, it's going to be totally worth it. So don't just sit back and wait for your email saying like, you're next in line, because that's not going to happen. This is something you have to be proactive about.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for your time today. And we love checking in. We're going to, hopefully continue to share after you get your second round of shots. So I congratulate you on being halfway there. If anyone wants to follow you guys on social media, because I know you share a lot of your experiences there, would you mind sharing your handles or your contact information?
So mine is CJ Coates 2020 on Instagram.
Mine is Megan Dazzle, Dazzle.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, colleagues, and it's a wrap. Thank you dearly for hanging out with the D-Focus Media team. We hope truly something resonated with you. And if it did, be sure to give us 5 stars. And make sure you follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you named it. And our handle is at D-Focus Media on all platforms. And until next time, be sure to keep it 2020. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.